When we started to build KIKI, we didn't set out to build a blockchain company. We set out to build a company that can be co-created and co-owned by customers. And we realized that blockchain today is the only technology that can help us make this statement true.
This episode is sponsored by Safe, the account abstraction leader on Ethereum. Avery, we're back again. GENC. We have an exciting episode today. Our guest is Jana Bobosikova, who is the co-founder of KIKI. KIKI is a beauty platform that is doing some really cool stuff with technology and co-creation and rewards and loyalty and community. And it's just a really wonderful conversation. I know you have been in touch with her for a while. I believe I met her at Art Basel for the first time this year, and she has infectious energy and enthusiasm about what she's building. So that's going to be great.
1,000%. And it's something that, I would always often use as like a reference point of like, imagine if I wanted to launch a new beauty brand and I solicited the opinion of consumers. Mags Kala, who you and I are both very close with, often would sort of think about this idea of like a lipstick DAO. And then we heard about KIKI World and we were like, oh, it's lipstick DAO. That's amazing. That's a great idea. And it wasn't just us who thought it was a great idea. We've got a really impressive list of investors, including one of the biggest beauty brands on the planet, biggest beauty conglomerates, I should say, on the planet. So I am super excited to have her on.
Absolutely. But first, Avery, what is a Stubio?
A Stubio is a fan-powered studio that launches on Tubi. So Stubios is something we've been working with the Tubi team on for quite some time. And this is probably one of the projects I am the most excited about in Vaynerland because I think it really addresses like a consumer need. Everyone who is listening to the show right now knows that the method of identifying Hollywood stars, like which used to be like who Jeffrey Katzenberg likes, is that has changed. The new stars are born on TikTok and everybody knows it. TikTok and other platforms, I should say. And Tubi also knows this. And, Tubi is owned by Fox. We had Melanie on recently, who's the CTO and super impressive. And she talked a lot about how they're building for the future. And Tubi is ad-supported streaming service, which is really popular with the sort of younger Gen Z multicultural communities. And they have that incredible sort of branding of down the rabbit hole. Their CMO, Nicole Prelopiano, is a badass. And they were really inspired by a quote from Issa Rae, where she basically said, Hollywood, like we'll have to put in the show notes, but she basically said like, Hollywood, you're killing your own industry. Like y'all are not creative people. Let the creatives do the creative thinking and you guys stick to the money counting. And, inspired by that and inspired by sort of consumer research, Tubi decided to launch Stubios, which is a platform to empower emerging creators to launch a show on Tubi. They actually get to direct it and they get to engage their communities along the way. It's really awesome. One of the first sort of participants is Lady London, who's this epic rapper. Yeah, Lady London, you're with it. And she's super excited about what she's kind of bringing to market and bringing her fans along with her. And they all get to be mentored by Issa Rae, which is also just lights out. Too good.
So cool. Yes. Yeah, I was really happy to see this. I know you shared it. I think it was yesterday, the day before on LinkedIn. So I went kind of down that rabbit hole. It's so funny. I read all of your stuff and it is really exciting. And I love the idea of creators getting just bigger and bigger platforms and learning from people who can help them think about their careers in ways that they're not getting maybe other places. And I also saw last night on TikTok this really very, very heartfelt sort of post by this is a Black screenwriter in Hollywood and a director. And he was saying how just since he started to now, he's like, there's only 2 or 3 main studios. The people who are really writing the big checks are tech platforms, right? The Apples and the Amazons of the world, and then Netflix is not the sort of ones who come out of a craft of movie making and show making. So I think there's a really nice juxtaposition where these creators and their audiences can sort of pull forward the narratives that they want to hear, as opposed to that being sort of decided by 10 specific people in a boardroom who are like, blessing whether or not this is going to be good to add more subscribers, right? Or something like that. So I really sort of liked that this was kind of bottom up from creators, but also from Issa Rae, who really understands her community so well, and that she gets to help them. As I'm sure there'll be more mentors coming, but that they get to help these young creators think about their career in a really connected way that also is about craft and art and content first.
Well, Sam, I know you totally get it. This is something that I think is so aligned to like the Web3 ethos and a lot of the things that we talk about on this show. It's amazing to see a big company like Fox, like putting their money where their mouth is and producing these things. And when I talk to a lot of creators around what they're looking for, they're all looking for distribution. And guess what's distribution? TV.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about it.
And they need content. Yeah.
they need content. They also need original content. Like no one wants to see like Fast and Furious 19. Or I mean, I guess some people do, but there's such a dearth of like original creative content that people are craving and wanting. And like, yeah, it's really hard. And having a breakout is hard, but building with your community, it, makes that even more interesting and exciting. And there's even more coming out afterwards that I just can't wait to share. What else news is catching your eye this week though, Sam?
There's two other things I want to talk to you about. So one is, it was announced last week, OpenAI just did another news deal, this time with the Financial Times, for a partnership. And there was some commentary that I was reading on social, which was that in essence, the news industry is welcoming its own death by 1,000 cuts. So people are kind of thinking about it through the lens of, well, this is another monetization, and that, OpenAI is now paying. Now, Financial Times is interesting because all of their content is behind a paywall. So unlike, say, CoinDesk, where right now all of our content is public, and so it's been scraped already probably by any of these models, Financial Times actually has something that is hard to get. So they made a deal, but then, the idea comes, is by searching on with ChatGPT or with OpenAI, are you now getting served ways for them to monetize that in a different way? Or is this them thinking, well, this is a balance of some revenue here and we have our subscription? And I guess wanted to think, we've now lived with this idea of ChatGPT and especially the content world, whether that's books, whether that's music. Now we've heard about YouTube videos. Now we're in the news cycle. But is in some respect the entire media industry just slowly like encouraging its own decay by making these deals? Or should they really be uniting to sort of push back and say, no, none of us are really willing to do this, at least in the way that you guys want? I just wondered if you had any thoughts about this.
What is happening and what they should be doing are two different things, Sam, as you obviously very well know. When has it ever worked that a bunch of like these little publishers get together and like actually make a difference against demand? I mean, this has just been, the melting ice cube thing we've talked about for such a long time. I think it's the short term and the long term thinking. And in thinking for the short term, a lot of these organizations have not set themselves up well for the long term. But also sometimes like what's, might be the most disruptive is like CoinDesk going all in on TikTok and winning that. Right. Mm-hmm. But that's then you have to hire new people and you have to like think in a whole new way. And that's a whole new muscle that would take a while for it to play out. And to me, that's a little bit of it. Right. It's like there's the complete revolution versus a lot of times people are thinking in kind of like incrementality of what can I do to make this a little bit better or keep it a little bit how it was, when ultimately you never then get to like the place where like you're crushing it with social. And you're talking about it from publishers. I see it from brands too. We are spending a lot of time and effort and money on thinking about these like 1 to 2 campaigns that are supposed to be like these big ideas, but that's just not how people consume media these days, right? And that's not how, it's not like it was 20 years ago where like one breakthrough tagline is going to work as the only thing. That can be part of it, but that has to manifest in a way that's relevant instead of just, having a great idea and then just pushing it through reach. So I think it's not just the media industry would be my take.
It's a great point on brands, because they suffer from the same opportunity of in essence being extracted away. I mean, Amazon to some degree has already done this in how it's looked at sales cycles and then create its own product, right? So it's the equivalent of something we'll keep our eye on.
No, I want to double tap on that, Sam, because I think that retail media is one of the biggest threats to like big CPG. And the way that it's working right now is they are creating their own private labels. They are charging the brands to advertise on their media networks, basically pay for placement, which is normal in the stores, right? Like that's always been a thing. They're turning up the heat gradually while they extract all the data and then use that to build their own products. And it's really this catch-22, exactly what you're talking about for publishers. Like, okay, are they not going to be there? But then they're in the short term, they're going to get hit. But in the long term, they're going to build that muscle of like how they can connect directly with consumers themselves, which in the long run might be the move. And, nobody really, like everybody's laughing about Poppy and Feastables till they're not.
Yes. Well, and to your point, once you've created that paradigm, Amazon's a great example. You have two options. You could be Nike, who says we're going to pull a lot of our styles out, and so therefore you have to come to Nike.com or our preferred retailers because they're just getting cannibalized. Or you are now paying what is now an above 30% tax to play the Amazon game, where it used to be much lower. But because they just slowly, incrementally increase the cost for playing the game of fulfillment and all of those things in the advertising network, you then eat into your own margins, where you end up having to have such scale. The only way to make money is to play a very razor thin margin game. So I think you're absolutely correct about this. Avery, final final thought for you is, I was revisiting a tweet from Matthew Ball the other day where he had this chart. I think we might have talked about it, but I just wanted to double tap into it, which is the New York Times now has more users playing games than reading news. And, we know the popularity of Wordle and why they bought that. And I know you're a Connections Maxi. So, thinking about that and the crossword puzzle and all this stuff. And it just made me wonder whether it's learning language with Duolingo, whether it's Robinhood and how you're buying stocks. Now it's the New York Times and how you're sort of becoming a game player on it. Just, is gamification the big unlock that we all need to refocus our thoughts on? Because it causes so much dwell time. It causes so much interaction with the brand. And people love playing games, even if passively they don't even know they're playing a game. How do you guys weave gamification into your campaigns?
We do a ton of things with gamification, and some are full on games, something like a pick'em, which we branded. People love it though. That we can't get people to come to a beer website every week,
right?
Unless there's a game. You just wouldn't do it because why would you? There's so many other things you could be doing online. Gamification works. It drives dwell time. It drives brand association, but it has to be the right thing. I think sometimes people try to gamify everything, and it's why does that social media post need to, have a game in it? And making a great game, making a connections, how many, you've got to have a million different word games till you get a connection. And I think it's that, by the way, I want to give a shout out to the creator. I think her name is Winona Lau, who that is a creative thing, just producing that game every day and sparking joy with millions, including you and I.
I mean, joy or frustration, because I have not been able to always solve this puzzle, but we'll save that for later. Our guest, Avery, Jana, is gamifying, frankly, the beauty industry. I mean,
beauty.
There's a ton of rewards. There's a ton of social collaboration. There's a ton of collective decision making that happens within what KIKI is building. So after the break, we will come back with Jana from KIKI. We'll hear all about what they're building, and stay with us.
Can't wait.
Safe is enabling ownership for all with smart accounts. With over 100 billion in total value stored across over 14 networks, Safe accounts are embedded everywhere, including DeFi Saver, WorldCoin, Dracula app, and more. Build and use the most battle-tested smart account in Ethereum. Visit safe.global. Consensus 2024. Global crypto regulation, the disruptive power of AI, the rise of tokenization. Consensus is the one event where experts convene to talk about the ideas shaping our digital future. Join developers, investors, founders, brands, policymakers, and plenty more in Austin, Texas from May 29th through the 31st. The 10th annual Consensus is curated by CoinDesk to feature the industry's most sought-after speakers and provide unparalleled networking opportunities and unforgettable experiences. Take 15% off registration with the code GENC15. Register now at consensus.coindesk.com, and I'll see you there. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are here with Jana Bobosikova, the co-founder of KIKI. Very excited to talk about all things beauty, whether or not this is a Web3 brand or not, and all the connected products that they're making, which also really focus a lot on co-collaboration, which is something that I'm super excited to learn more about. So Jana, just to start, you've had a career that spanned a lot of different sectors, beauty and innovation. Give us the highlights and what made you want to start your own brand with KIKI?
So first of all, great to be here, guys. My background, really, the interesting bit is I studied theology and economics and business, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'm from the Czech Republic, and I grew up watching America on TV, and I thought it was such a cool place, and I definitely needed to be over there. So to preface everything, I think with KIKI World and my career, I feel very fortunate to be able to say that I'm living the American dream, doing my best to contribute to building a future here. What I've been always interested in is the stickiness of why people stay in certain systems or pursue certain things. And in a very long story short, I got the opportunity to launch a brand in the US after I started a distribution company in the Czech Republic, which my mom now runs, and she does a terrible job. Terrible. Did I say terrible? She does an incredible job.
The opposite of terrible.
She does an incredible job. And so I launched several brands in the US in the beauty and personal care space. And it was really striking to me that the beauty industry really is standing on the shoulders of platforms, creator recommendations, customer content, and that neither customers or creators get really rewarded that much for really building this category. I think it's something like 5% of creators get paid for content in the beauty space. And so after I finally got my green card, which was a very ceremonious moment for me and something that I pursued for a long time, I started my own company, which was an operating company. We supported supply chain, product development, B2B sales, and innovation. Many companies that you would find in stores like Sephora, Ulta, and others. And it was a very natural progression to start thinking about how we can connect the dots and build something new. And with KIKI, I have two co-founders that make me look good. We have very diverse backgrounds. Ricky is an incredible creative. He's a chief creative at KIKI. We connected over the fact that design is the language of adoption. And so we can come up with the smartest, coolest things, but if it doesn't look beautiful, it's very unlikely to be adopted. And Brandon, who's our co-founder and head of product, his background is in enterprise SaaS. And we were very excited about what's next for overall consumer with the beauty lens in mind, knowing that the next generation of brands will be not just promoted by creators, but created by audiences and creators. And we really wanted to build a platform where customers can co-create and co-own products, not just use and sell them.
Awesome. So where did the idea of a co-created beauty brand come from? You've had experience building businesses. How did you decide, let's go into the co-created beauty world?
Well, I think we were just not excited to use the internet to sell objects. So before we started KIKI, we had this idea that products should be connected and they should be linked to the internet. And we want to ask the people on the internet, like, it's a rich medium, people use it to create things. However, in the consumer goods space, people use it to sell things. And that's such a shame. And how we were just really interested in this question, what kind of products, or what kind of world we would live in if we ask others to collaborate and participate. And here's the key plot twist, be rewarded for it. Because obviously, asking people questions on the internet is not a new idea. But coming up with a way that they can sustainably participate in the creation, and there's a loop in how they become co-creators and co-owners, is what was the founding thought. It was power to the passionate. And we didn't want to be the ones that are going to be in an ivory tower telling you this is the best, and 7 scientists worked for 7 years to create this, and now you need to buy this. And we were like, no, it's not our first rodeo. We have some innovation. We came up with a airtight NFC tag enabled nail polish that you can apply on the go with one hand. It's cool. But you tell us what else it should look like. What color should it be? And should it have a scent? We want to do this together. We think it's a much more interesting way to create products. It's a much more difficult way to create the products. But that was really the founding thought. And we've had a lot of learning since. So happy to double click on these as well.
Okay, I want to hear a little bit more about that product that you said really quick, Jana. It was an airtight chipped nail. Explain that one.
So our first launch product was Pretty Nail Graffiti. It's an airtight pen that allows you to literally apply nail polish on the go. So I'm wearing it on this nail, and then peel it off and change your color. So if you think from first principles, who decided that we sit in our nail salon, get our nails done for an hour? It's crazy. Literally Elon Musk is going on Mars and we're getting our nails done for 1 hour. The gap of technology in personal care and in other areas is really jarring, I think, sometimes. And so we thought, why not just do it on the go? And so Pretty Nail Graffiti has an NFC tag that's housed at the cap of every product. The reason why we put it there is twofold. We wanted to reward our audience, not just for purchase, but for the physical product use. And we also have created a circular supply chain where this product can be industrially refilled because it's custom tooled. And so when you get your Pretty Nail Graffiti, hopefully you voted on which color you would have created. So you got your points. You got your collectible, which we call collectible when we talk to our friends from the beauty world, and we say ERC721A when we talk to our friends from the crypto world. We strongly believe that nobody needs to know that it's on chain, but it's very cute.
So Jana, I want to just dive into this a bit because you talk about being a co-created beauty brand. You also talk about having products chipped. We've seen that you have a product that has literally your nail itself can be chipped. You also work with other creators and you let people vote on sort of the colorways and all the different products that you're making. Just tell us a little bit about that ecosystem and what made you decide to go sort of community first in all of those decisions, because I can imagine it makes it actually harder to create product.
Yeah, so we're really interested to build a world where customers feel that piece of the products that they use belongs to them and they're part of it in a different way rather than just buying. I think some of the things that we think about a lot is that if you're a power user of a beauty brand, so you really love a brand, it's probably a net negative experience because you get more text messages, you get more emails, you get asked to buy more things. And so it's actually kind of upside down. And so one of the things that makes KIKI World different is that we reward customers even before they buy. And so if you come to our website today and you can swipe, vote, or click on the things that you like, and every time you do that, you get KIKI points. Now, KIKI points, you don't need to have a wallet or anything to collect them. They go into your account. And when you're part of these campaigns, so taking Cherry Chai as an example, it's our one night trend. It's a 1 day hair color. Cherry Chai has beautiful textured hair, and it's actually a very interesting cosmetic problem, how to deposit a color pigment for 1 day to textured hair. And so her audience is very excited to participate in the creation of their product. And every time they do, they also get collectible. That collectible is a beautiful chrome looking cherry. It looks super cool. I encourage everybody to go and vote on their 1 day hair color favorite to get theirs. And that allows us then to have a community around people that have participated in the creation of the product. And it's important to us that that part of participation is on chain because it builds a network around this product forever, so long as we are online. But the benefits from the voting, which can be daily, is redeemable for the final product. So because you have contributed to creation of the product, you get it at a different price than somebody that just goes and buys it. And we have a public ledger reference of you having been the creator of that product forever, which can lead to very interesting scenarios down the line. But the reward for being a part of it is immediate, and that's something that's very important to us.
So let's talk a little bit about this idea of sort of rewarding users for participating and rewarding them along the journey. You just said rewarding them immediately. How does this actually work in practice?
Well, so you literally come to our website, you swipe on one of our campaigns, and points are immediately deposited into your account. And so then if you go and shop any of our products at checkout card, you can redeem them for dollars. So instead of paying $29 for Pretty Nail Graffiti, you can be getting it essentially for free if you've accumulated enough products as a participant in creating our products. And I think something that's very interesting to us is that participation doesn't need to be tied to physical product creation. It can be tied to asking your members, like, should we have a meetup, or we do these lab sample lunches? Should we have it in Miami, or should we have it at the next consensus conference? Should we have it in LA? And really putting out this idea that your voice matters. And I think if anybody that's watching this can see there's people here behind me, they probably don't realize that they're on this camera, so I shouldn't talk about them too much. But they're KIKI World members that have come proactively to us and said, can we build this together? Can we do this and the other projects? And I think that level of innovation that we can as KIKI World offer is because we have core values that are reflected in a very simple way by rewarding input and participation. And so I think there's two components of reward. One is this immediate dopamine. Okay, I did this, I got that, and that's important. It also builds a culture where if you bring something to the table, you get something back. And I think that can lead to really interesting innovation and commerce.
So, Jana, when we were talking right before, you made a statement that I thought was really interesting, which was you said you are too consumer for crypto and you're too crypto for consumer. And now you're talking about points and you're talking about digital collectibles and you're kind of dancing around the lines of what both audiences can reward, but they actually don't always love the other side. So I wonder if there is some insight that you have as you're trying to build a brand. I think about the fact Avery and I interviewed Ben Leventhal from Blackbird, who, doesn't talk a lot about crypto, but is using a lot of crypto tools. Or the Magic team, who has 35 million wallets created, but most people don't even know they have one. So could you talk a little bit more about what it means to be building on top of these crypto rails, but also your audience base are going to be young women, fashion forward people who are not always the ones people think of when they think of like the crypto degen?
Yeah, I thank God. And I think all of your guests are definitely our friends, at least spiritually, or spiritual allies, I would say. When we're building a brand or community, I think the technology that you use, and the best technology in the world, is invisible. And I think it's the entropic part of the world, of all of the dynamic forces in our lives. And so we do believe that on-chain network as a component of what we build is important if we are to build the next generation of customer and community powered products. So it's there very deliberately. But as an individual customer, you do not need to know that it is on chain. What you do need to know is that there is something that you want to come back to and that you want to do something with. And that when you do something with it, like redeem it, collect it, or share it, it makes you happy and you want to do more of it. And maybe it makes you happy because you got you a discount. Maybe it makes you happy because you shared it with a friend. Or maybe it makes you happy because you contributed to making a product. But in the end of the day, you are enabling a community commerce experience. And what technology you use doesn't matter to the end customer. What matters is the experience and the utility and the quality and the joy and the magic of the overall experience and product.
Okay, Jana. So all of that said, do you consider Kiki World a Web3 brand? If someone had, to be like, yes, no.
Depends on who that somebody is.
I love it.
If they're writing you a check.
Depends on what fund that is. So, and I think, we have disclosed our launch partners, and I think they capture it actually perfectly. So our original investor is Estee Lauder Companies. They're a publicly traded company that invested into a company that said blockchain in our pre-seed deck. And our second investor is A16Z Crypto. And I think if you ask A16Z Crypto team, Estee Lauder team, what Kiki does, you would get same answer using different words. And I think that the words really are a little bit less important than the mission, which is we're creating products in a new way. We're creating products with our community, and we're giving community and creators the tool to reward their audiences for doing things with them online. And that is the bottom line. And I think somebody will invest or be interested in us or participate because they want to be on chain. And I'm proudly saying Kiki World is probably the only place you can do that in the beauty ecosystem. And other people will come to us just because this is a really cool nail polish. And I can tell you, I love all Kiki World members for all of these reasons equally. And I think it's one of the things that we're really proud of, that it's a place that you can come because you're interested in innovation, period. And you shouldn't have to listen to a TED Talk or a podcast to know why it's interesting. It's maybe the physical product that was created that's cool, or maybe it's the fact that you can weigh in on what gets created that's cool, or maybe it's the fact that you can click and get discount that's cool. It's all cool. And the technology really is, I think, secondary to that experience.
Yeah, and I want to ask though, because I think a lot of the thesis in Web3 around creating communities that are connected via wallets or some abstraction of are also about the idea that you have a more direct relationship with your consumer. I don't think it's been proven out in the way that we would all like to think of, oh, the death of the cookie means Web3 has a rise opportunity. But you have these relationships going on. You have some of your technologies built on a Web3 stack. Is that about the data play? And does that help you then be able to decide more of how you create this community together with your users? Or is it just people love points, people love co-collaboration, it allows us to build something, and whether they buy our product at Sephora or direct on our .com doesn't really matter?
Look, I think as a business builder, it is always a data play to some extent, right? And it's not data play because you're trying to do evil. It's a data play because you're trying to do service to your audience. I think the fact that some of that data is on chain allows to build a better business and gives you more extensibility to what that business might become, because the data may be used by different parties and can be built on top of in a different way. So for me as a builder, I think it's smarter, with the asterisk of putting the correct type of data on chain. I don't think that everything needs to be on chain, and we get challenged every day about this. So when you come to Kiki.world today, yes, a wallet is created in the backend with a set of whitelisted actions. You don't know that. It happens in under a second. And it's not important to the experience on the site today, but it may be important. It allows us to do things that we wouldn't be able to do if we didn't have that in the background today. And so I think, honestly, when we started to build Kiki, we didn't set out to build a blockchain company. We set out to build a company that can be co-created and co-owned by customers. And we realized that blockchain today is the only technology that can help us make this statement true. That does not mean that blockchain needs to be on the frontier, but I think it's a smarter way to build your stack because it allows you and your customers to use the data in a different way.
I love that. And were you yourself an avid user of blockchain-based tech before you got started with Kiki? I remember chatting to you about this a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's such an interesting story.
Well, so I was studying pricing of public goods before I started being in beauty at all. And this is many, many moons ago. And so I think market design and market pricing and all of these things are deeply intellectually interesting to me. And I think there's different ways to think about the value chain with the technology stack that we have today than we had even 10 years ago. So even as an example, for KIKI, we couldn't do what we do co-created products in small batch manufacturing had there been not advances in additive manufacturing that allow us to do what we do without compromising unit cost and other sort of lead time related items on the back end. So if you ask me, was I an avid user? I was not a DGen before I started KIKI. I will admit that. I explored becoming one. I did try, and I went to VCon to study DGens. And
focus group.
I really, really tried. And I think, my takeaway but I was very interested in cryptocurrency and application cryptography as a piece of the value chain. And so what my sort of long story short was the empowerment of creativity online that can be encapsulated through blockchain it's very powerful because the value gets created through the creative class online. I strongly believe that the value accrues to the application layer over time because technology, to some extent, technology stack is going to continue to get cheaper. And so finding a ways to reward that layer of your brand or community around you is incredibly important and probably the only way to sustain a business long term. And so I was very interested in it intellectually. Now, could I go and write that code and deploy a smart contract? Probably not. I feel very lucky that we have a very talented team at KIKI World. And again, it's interesting for me when people think we're a beauty company, well, our largest team is our engineering team. So I don't think that there's another company that looks like a consumer company that can say that. So I think that our commitment to building a network that can serve the next generation of creators and customers is absolute. And I think that tech stack in a way is not here yet. And so we're very excited to be a part of building that network.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about when I was at Art Basel, I recorded, I don't remember if it was you, I know we had met at a party, but someone had one of your NFC chipped nails. And I wanted to get the whole flow of that experience. And I recorded it. I put it up on my socials. People were very impressed with it. So I consider myself now a brand ambassador. But the question I had was one, the idea of this kind of like wearable business card, but also really could be almost anything. I could see an artist or a musician giving these out to young girls, and then therefore they all get to connect in community, and it links into a place to meet. I could see the idea of people becoming collectible themselves in interesting ways, or having point systems. I think about the idea that other brands, because you are on chain, could look at, how many people, from a collaboration perspective can work together because you have this physical object that people can wear. And I know nails are one of those things, but I guess I'm starting to think about as I look forward to a more hyper-connected, like multi-reality, mixed reality world. I know you guys are working on some AI opportunities as well. How does this all come together in this idea of this connected ecosystem of personalization, creator culture, but really also being part of this massive community trying to build something together?
What a big question. So I think
I'm known for a little of those.
So first of all, here's a chip. The one that you had in your nail, and it's in all of the products powered by KIKI. So let's start with something visceral. Now, the principles of KIKI from the get-go is we make what we make together. So we don't decide what we make alone, but we will put the best technology for you to co-create with. So all of our products will be connected, and they have been from day one. And we have a pipeline of about 30 that are ready to go if and when we see the right opportunities. I can tease a little bit. We're working on a super cool thing in fragrance, codename Layer 3. You've heard it here first. And we're working across many other categories. Patches and nails, face patches and nails. Those are two categories that are live. I think are really sort of a very clear example of what a wearable connection versus a connection that's in your physical object makes different. I have to give a quick shout out to Winnie, who's one of our early KIKI World members. And she said, can we do nails? We're like, well, it's funny you say that. We've been working on nails, so let's do it together. And I think that is part of the sort of KIKI World ethos that can accelerate innovation when we see a community that's really excited about that. And so I think building a social graph online based on your offline connections is obviously a very sexy application of what a wearable technology can do. Rewarding people for talking to other people is, I think, something that crypto world is very excited about. I think that the way that we think at KIKI is a little bit lighter on the financialization of everything. But I can tell you an analogy to this, because we talk to a lot to beauty professionals, esthetician, makeup artists, salons. And imagine a world in which a nail salon puts NFC tag into the artwork. We call it virtual press on nails, the product category that we have launched with this. And so every time that their clients do tap the salon, they accrue rewards to come back to their salon. So that's a very clear use case from a salon perspective. And again, I think in the crypto version of this probably sounds like, you earn points and there's a decentralized social graph that goes to the nod of the salon that accrued, blah, 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 blah. And they're both true. They're not one of them is wronger than the other. But I think that we're very early to see how the audience will respond to that. I definitely think there's a magic. Like, I think the real world component of what we do at KIKI is incredibly powerful. When people tap packaging and they see that it connects to their KIKI world profile, it's like, oh my God, wow. And I think that the challenge of building a real business is, however, okay, there's a wow component, but what did it do for you? And that what did it do for you will determine if you'll do it again. And so I think that the real use case of why we put tags in packaging, well, so we can recycle them and you can be rewarded for when you help us do that, so that we can reward you. So you're a power user. So you tapped your product 10 times. We know you love it. And so we want to hear what should the next one be. So, and those are some of the lessons that we also had. So when we launched KIKI, we asked anybody on the internet, what should we make? I mean, it's pretty cool. But in hindsight, we probably should have asked some of the expert communities first. So these things are very obvious in hindsight. And now that we have over 20,000 world members, we can see, okay, this group really loves to use nail polish because they tap 100 times. We want to work with them on what the nail polish looks like. And I can tell you the ideas that our community has, like our latte patches and things, we would have never come up with. So the level of innovation that you can get through decentralized process that rewards input is unparalleled. We've seen it in software. We haven't seen it in consumer goods. And KIKI seeks to be the platform that will bring this speed and craziness of innovation into people's hands.
Okay, so we're going to need to know about these latte patches.
Okay. So when we first launched KIKI, we thought that we were so cool because we created these holographic face patches. So when you wear them on your skin, they kind of give like a really cool vibe. And we were told, so these are true hydrocolored acne patches. Acne patches is a very growing category. People love to wear them. And people voted on the shape and the print. So we have ones with smiley and one with these bolts on them. And in one of our lab lunches, one of the creators called Eddie Moda was examining them. He's like, the pull is great. The thickness is great. And I was like, wow, this guy is like the largest living expert on face patches. And he was like, yeah. I said, Eddie, why don't you make a patch with us? I mean, we thought we did great because holographic foil is a really tough thing to figure out, apparently, in the beauty world. I know it sounds a little ridiculous. And he said, well, I study psychology and I thought like people are either a tea person or a coffee person. And when you have a zit on your face, you want to you feel insecure. So wouldn't it be fun if you put something in there that's like warm and fuzzy and conversational? And so we had people vote on whether we should make latte or matcha patches that were co-designed with Eddie Moda. And they voted for latte, cute patches, and holographic patches. Everybody that voted got points every step of the way. They got a collectible that forever marks them as co-creators of the latte matcha patches. And we would have never, ever come up with the idea of putting latte on your face. Here we are. It looks great.
Yet you have to give the people what they want.
Exactly. So Jana, just to wrap up, it feels like you have had a lot of learnings of how to engage your community and how to work with other creators and create a democratized, decentralized sort of voting system for new product. So if there's someone listening who wants to start a collaborative brand with the audience, what are the things they should avoid or watch out for? And what are the things that really are how to superpower that?
Well, I will use this opportunity to say that we're launching a set of permissionless tools for this person to use when they want to do that. And I would love to hear from them. I would love their feedback. We're
powered by
creating
KIKI.
Early beta users that want to create their world, ask their followers or their friends what they should make and make them a part of it from the get-go. And we're very excited to provide tech platform to do that. So first of all, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to support you. And we think that we have, to some extent, identified the elements of productizing some parts of that process. And I think, if you look at anything that we've done to date, I mean, there's some sexy parts. SDK Skin Development Kit that is live on our website as a collaboration could have 190,000 outcomes as a moisturizer. And so in that example, we have created parameters for every step of the process that are unique to this product category that we can overlay with our platform in terms of what attributes you vote on, which ones you don't, what metadata goes on chain, which doesn't. And we're very excited about the framework that we created for this. And we're very excited to share it with the world in our permissionless app launch as KIKI. But I really think that the first advice to any entrepreneur, anybody that wants to build, is just do it and do it with people that have done it before. Do it. I mean, the first lab samples we have here, we're always embarrassed. I'm already embarrassed about our upcoming lab sample because it only gets better. And so I think the speed of iteration and the speed of feedback and having that built into the process is something that can be massively improved across all the products that we're using, from like the chair I'm sitting on to the makeup I'm using. Like, these product cycles have historically been long and top down. And the fact that we now have technology to have people participate and reward them for it can lead to a lot just better products on the other side. So get started. I mean, your first community, when we started, our first product was co-created by 513 people. You can look on OpenSea, Pretty Nail Graffiti Pearl co-creators. Now we have 20,000. Hopefully that will lead to 20,000 times better outcome. But even if you have one feedback, it's better than zero. So get going. I always say design is the language of adoption. I think my number one advice would be to make it really, really cool. And I know that probably sounds like a very ambivalent or ambiguous advice, but I think, oftentimes, especially in the Web3 world, I'm guilty of it too, I'm sure. We tend to over-intellectualize the importance of something that is not actually viscerally clear as to what that it is. And I think that really being focused on the quality, the design, the utility of the product itself, I think is ultimately the most important thing, because all the bells and whistles, whether that product is connected or not connected, like, they'll vanish. But if there isn't a repeat interest in doing it again, I think, and again, that doesn't probably happen on iteration one. So I want to preface by saying that, but I do think that sometimes we get lost in the how and forget the what a little bit. And I think that it's very important for any entrepreneur to really stay very product focused. And when the product is the technology, it's really easy to get lost in the distinction of what is a tool and what is the ultimate experience that people will want to experience again and again and again. And that's how you build a business.
Jana, thank you so much for spending the time with us. We will pay attention to what KIKI is doing. We love that you're building a Web3 connected brand, but you're building it with much more intention,
Platform.
I'm sorry. Powered by KIKI World, all of the things, and just really lovely insights for you to share with our audience. I'm sure they will appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jana. For one, I can't wait to try Jana's product. She said she was going to send us a creator kit. And the second thing that I took away from that amazing talk is that she is such an entrepreneur through and through. I feel like Jana builds businesses.
Yes. Jana's great. I really appreciate her perspective. I do think that when you look at her background, she is sort of known for building business, building innovation. And it really does feel like innovation comes first. I was really interested to hear that she has a larger engineering team than sort of any other team at the shop, which is someone building a platform. So I was wondering how much of this is really a tech brand or a tech platform when it really comes down to it. And then that little nugget at the end of them building a stack where other entrepreneurs can build on top of them, I thought was also really, really fascinating.
For sure. I think Jana is going places. KIKI World is going places. And companies like Estee Lauder are taking notice.
Absolutely. All right, Avery, we will see everyone next week. Thank everyone for listening to this episode, and we look forward to future ones coming.
Bye, GENC.